Hey everyone, it's Mark, and today's video comes from the channel OldSquishyGardener's Court Watch. A link to their video and channel is in the description. Today we're taking a look at a rookie sovereign citizen who has no idea what he's doing in court. Let's roll the video!
Titled The People of the City of Marshall versus Leonard Jr. Cusino. Is that your name, sir?
Kuzno.
Cusino.
Leonard Jr. Kuzno.
Yeah, I keep mispronouncing it. I apologize. I forgot that I needed to broadcast this on YouTube, but we had gone through what the citation alleges, which is an expired plate, and that we're going to be you're scheduled for a hearing today. When I asked whether you wish to admit or deny, you indicated you initially wanted to deny responsibility because essentially you had a motion to dismiss. Is that correct?
Yes, I had no motion to dismiss.
And this motion was your first statement to the court was that you indicated the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code was not, at least this violation was not applicable to you because you weren't driving in a commercial sense. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'd like to ask the officer if I was hauling anybody or unloading or loading anything in my car.
Well, I will ask
That would
the
say
officer.
I
Were
was
there,
commercial.
Officer Dickinson, was there anyone else in the vehicle?
There was not.
Okay. And was well, Mr. Cusino.
Kuzno, you got it.
I will get it right one of these times, and I'll keep getting it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean no disrespect. Okay, so I think that the officer would grant that you were not driving for commercial profit in any way.
Yes.
At least that's my understanding. Is that correct, Officer Dickinson?
Affirm.
Okay. So go ahead with your motion, I suppose, sir.
I motion to have it dismissed.
The motion to dismiss will be denied. He's using an old sovereign citizen argument. Sovereign citizens believe that if they aren't driving commercially, they aren't required to have a driver's license, which is clearly wrong and delusional thinking. In all 50 states, you're required to have a driver's license if you're operating a motor vehicle on a public roadway. It doesn't matter if you're driving commercially or not.
Well, on the basis just that the Michigan
on
Motor
why?
Vehicle Code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, hold on. The enhancement caused by the commercial MVC covered by the traffic law enforcement education. Yes or no? And then the Michigan Vehicle Code Act 300 of 1949. An act provides the registration, titling, sale, transfer, and regulations of certain vehicle operations upon the public highways of this state. So the Officers Act clearly states that only certain vehicles are liable to the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code. Do you know the vehicles are liable to be regulated? Answer yes or no.
Clearly he's reading off a script, but I don't think he understands what he's reading. Most likely he bought the script off someone who told him to read it in court to get the charges dropped. He's about to find out that this isn't how any of this works.
All vehicles, well, it seems like you're reading from a questionnaire and it's
I'm
a
reading
flowchart
from.
of some sort. So the idea is, here's what I can tell you. Here's what I can tell you about the law. Okay.
Yeah, it's about the law.
Michigan Compiled Law 257.255, which is part of Public Act, well, the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code. I can't remember the exact Public Act number. Let me get there. Michigan 1949 Public Act 300 applies to it applies to any motor vehicle being operated on a highway or other place open to the public. Whether it's for commercial purposes, for entertainment, for to reach a destination, for any purpose. If it's a motor vehicle and it's operated on the highways, Michigan Compiled Law 257.255 does apply. And the Michigan law does require that all motor vehicles, no matter what their purpose is. Well,
it doesn't. Michigan's compiled law, the Supreme Court ruled not against that.
What case was that, sir?
Hold on. Let me get it here. Okay, quoting from Grand Rapids, GH and MYRY Company versus Stevens ETAL 219 Michigan 332 1922 at 337.
Okay, what does it say at 337 there? On page 3037, what does the Michigan Supreme Court say?
It says 337, a highway is a public way for the use of public and general passage and traffic without distinction. Star versus C and A Railroad Company, 4 ZAP 597. The restrictions upon the use of only such as are calculated to secure to the general public the latest practical benefit from the enjoyment of the easement. And the inconvenience must be submitted to when they are only such as an incident to a reasonable use under impartial regulations. When the highway is not restricted, it is dedication of some particular mode of use. If that is open to the situation methods and cannot be assumed that these will be the same from age to age, or that new means a making way useful must be executed merely because their introduction may trend to be inconvenience or even to injury of those who continue to use road after the same manner as formerly a highway established for the general benefit of passage and traffic must admit the new methods of use, whether it's found that the general benefits requires them and the law should prelude the adoption of the use of the methods. It would defeat in greater or less degree the purpose for which highway are established.
All that word salad, yet he said absolutely nothing. I had to go back and listen to it a few times to make sense of it, but he's basically using a 103-year-old railroad case to argue his right to travel. That's a new one I haven't heard of before. However, it isn't gonna work for him, mainly because it absolutely has nothing to do with the right to travel.
Okay, I am looking at that case. The first thing I would let you know is, do you know what the Grand Rapids GH and MR Company is?
The railroad.
Right, it's a railroad. So this is a case from 1922, 103 years ago-ish, and it's a case where the Michigan Supreme Court was essentially ruling about rules and regulations on a rail that's on like a streetcar, essentially, a rail that's over a highway and an easement. It has nothing to do with a person traveling in a sedan in 2025 on a public roadway. I understand your argument. Do you have any other kind of cases that you think actually apply to this situation?
Yes, here's another one. Each citizen has the absolute right to choose for himself mold and conveyance he desires, whether it be wagon or carriage,
I
by
understand.
horse,
So
motor.
I'm not trying to be rude. I might be succeed. I'm trying to be more efficient. I think your argument is, please correct me if I'm wrong, that somehow the requirement that you have a registration plate on your vehicle is an impediment to the constitutional right to travel. Is that correct?
No,
Okay, what are you telling me then?
ordinary use on a public road. Nothing
What about
commercial.
I didn't say anything about commercial.
No, I
I
was
said,
just saying
are
nothing.
you trying to tell me that the law that requires you to have a registration plate is illegal because there is a constitutional right to travel?
Yes. No.
What-
No.
Okay, what do you tell me then?
I'm convinced that this sovereign citizen has no idea what he's doing and what he's arguing. He simply bought a script hoping to confuse the judge to get the case dismissed.
ordinary use of the public road.
right? What about ordinary use of the public road?
A fundamental right.
The right to travel. I'm familiar with the
Yeah,
argument. It's been made by others. You're not the first and probably not the last to make that argument. I have ruled before, and I would rule
yeah,
again.
yeah.
The idea behind the thought that it's unconstitutional to require somebody to have a license plate on their car or to have insurance or something like that is an unconstitutional violation of the right to travel is simply not true. The Michigan Court of Appeals has decided that, and frankly, that's a misapplication of the phrase right to travel because, of course, there's nothing that requires you to travel by personal motor vehicle and choose to do so voluntarily. And then if you do so, Michigan requires that you have insurance. It requires that you have a non-expired registration plate. You could still travel to Ohio or any place else you want. You could do it by foot. You could do it by train. You could do it by bus. You could ride in somebody else's car, right? But the idea is
not the
there
right to
is
travel.
no
Then.
right. It's the requirement that you have a registration plate and that it be current does not run afoul of the U.S. Constitution's right to freely travel. Now, is there any other argument you want to make about your motion?
I like how professional this judge is being in trying to explain to him why the right to travel argument doesn't work. Hopefully he listens. Most sovereign citizens never listen to anything that doesn't fit their narrative.
It's just the right to use the public highway, not to
We all
travel.
have the right to use it and the right to the right of the government in Michigan to say you can use this public highway only if you have an operator's license, you have a valid registration plate, and you have a minimum amount of insurance does not run afoul of the Constitution.
Yeah, that's not what I see the law says. That's why.
I understand we may disagree, but frankly, the
Yeah.
court interprets the law, and that's why I'm here. So I'm going to deny your motion to dismiss. Do you still wish to have a hearing on the case, or are you willing to admit that, on that day you did not have you had an expired registration plate on the vehicle?
No, I guess I'll have to go to court.
Okay. Well, here's how this works. It's an informal hearing. So what I'll do is I'll put both of you under oath. The plaintiff in the case, which is the city of Marshall, represented by Officer Dickinson, has the burden of proof. The burden of proof in a case like this is called by a preponderance of evidence. After I put you both under oath, Officer Dickinson, who has the burden of proof, will present her case first. There aren't any rules of evidence that we have to worry about. There is one rule about the presentation, and that is that the court can consider only evidence which is relevant. After Officer Dickinson presents her case, Mr. Cousineau, you're going to
Yes, you got
present
it.
your
Perfect.
case. Finally,
Yeah.
you get to present your case. Again, you can produce anything into evidence that's relevant. And after both sides have
Okay.
presented their cases, I'll render a decision. Either side can appeal that decision within 7 days. Mr. Cousineau, if you were to appeal the decision, then you would have to put up the fines, costs, and fees as a bond pending appeal. Do you understand the process at this point?
Yes,
Okay. Can you both raise your right hands, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Officer Dickinson
I do.
and Mr. Cousineau.
I do. I do.
Very good. Officer, if you would begin, please.
Around
Well,
7:57 a.m. on 4/25, I observed Mr. Cousineau traveling on West Michigan Avenue with a green expiration date of July 2024 on his license plate. When I stopped him, he explained that it was in storage and that he didn't have the current registration and that somehow it got missed because he was moving because Ford was buying his house down in Michigan Ave. I explained to him that I had Lean in my computer, which is a law enforcement information network, and it's connected to the Secretary of State and updated as current as their system is, and they confirmed that his registration was expired, so I wrote him a citation under the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code 257.255 for expired registration.
All of this because his registration was expired. I think it would have been easier for him to just pay the citation and update his registration. Does he really think he has a chance of winning this case?
All right. Anything further you want me to consider at this point, Officer Dickinson?
Look at the
All right.
screen.
Mr. Kuzno? Is there
I'd like to
anything?
know where I didn't have a green sticker, I don't think, on my car. It's a military plate.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
That's all I have to say, really. Except
Okay.
that, you know,
Officer Dickinson, I guess I don't know what color the plate stickers were or anything else. Do you have a recollection about whether this was a military plate or not?
I'm looking at my body cam right now. He does have a Army plate, possibly.
Is it a state of
So it
Michigan
does
sort
look
of
a little,
commemorative plate that says that
yes,
has the
with
like
the
U.S.
Army
Army
decal
okay.
on the right-hand side. So you're right. He had no sticker that I'm seeing at all. So I must have got the July 2024 date from the computer where it says the date that it expired. I'm mistaken. I did not see a green sticker. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Mr. Kuzno, are you the registered owner of the vehicle?
yes,
Okay. And I take it your birthday is in July?
yeah.
Okay. And well, anything else you want me to consider, Mr. Kuzno?
Just consider that I had an appointment to get everything, and I just got it out of storage. Isn't
Okay.
there a leeway in that?
No, but I will consider it. It doesn't change whether you're responsible for the civil infraction or not, but I understand why you want to say that, and I understand that predicament. Anything else, Officer Dickinson?
No.
All right. Well, I've listened very carefully to the testimony, and it's pretty much undisputed that the defendant was operating a motor vehicle on West Michigan Avenue back on April 25th of 2025, and from both parties, but the officer had testified that she noticed that that plate had been expired. She checked the law enforcement information network. It indicated it was expired, and Mr. Cousineau has testified here today that it was a military plate. He had gotten it out of storage and he had an appointment in the future for the Secretary of State so he could make that plate be essentially not expired. Given those facts and those circumstances, I do find you responsible. It cost you $700 to get that?
Yeah, 700 and some dollars.
All right.
It was over
And
700.
And you went and paid it?
Yes. Yeah, I paid
Okay.
it when my appointment was up.
Well, in light of that, I do find you responsible, but instead of assessing $110, what I'll do is assess $90 because I think the Secretary of State penalized you quite a bit financially.
Yes.
But I do obviously have to enforce the law as it's written. So what I'm going to do is indicate that I'm finding you responsible. You'll have to pay $90. Total fines, costs, and fees. Can you have that paid by July 15th, or do you need more time?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to get to Battle Creek. I moved now, so I'm
Well,
ways away.
I believe they have a way you can pay it online now, or you can pay it in the mail. If you use a credit card,
yeah.
If you use a credit card, they'll add a credit card fee. But do you want me to give you till the end of July? Will that help?
Yes. Can they send a check to him, a personal check, or no?
Yeah, you can. Basically, when you get a copy of the judgment, if you have any questions about how to pay it, you can call the district court clerk's office, which is the same number you called originally to say you wanted an informal hearing. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Do you have my right address now?
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Basically, what's going to happen is I'll draw up a judgment. It'll go out in the mail tomorrow. It'll take a few days to get to you. Just make sure you have it paid off by July 31st, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're all set for today, sir. Have a good day.
I almost feel sorry for this guy. I don't believe he's a true sovereign citizen. I think what happened here is someone sold him a script as an easy way to get out of trouble, but it clearly didn't work out well for him. At the same time, he should have used common sense and recognized the sovereign citizen script as a scam. As the saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Hopefully he learned from this experience. As always, I would like to give a big shout out and thank you to all of my channel members for your support. I really appreciate all of your support, and all of you are awesome. And that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.